Some of the Earth's most magnificent creatures can be found in Glacier National Park in Montana. The park houses 71 different types of mammals, from sheeps, deers, and moose, to carnivores like wolverines, mountain lions, wolves, and the impressive grizzly bears. And these specific grizzlies are what fascinated 43-year-old wildlife photographer Buck Wild, who was determined to capture their images. Despite being aware of the potential risks associated with encountering these powerful creatures, he took necessary safety measures whenever he ventured into the grizzly territory. He was also well respected for his knowledge about these fascinating creatures. Before we begin with this story, it's important to understand that the 1,300 grizzlies residing in Montana's Glacier National Park are known to be more aggressive in defending their food as they have to work harder to acquire it, especially during the period when they prepare for winter hibernation. That is the most probable cause of this fatal attack that resembles one from 1967, when victims of the horrifying grizzly attack were Michelle Coons and Julie Helgeson. It was on the morning of October 3, 1992, when Buck had finished establishing his camp at the Granite Park campsite in Glacier. As he was getting ready to make breakfast, he saw a small bear and heard what appeared to be the growling of a much larger bear. To ensure the safety of his campsite, Buck made sure there was no food or something else that could attract nearby bears. He then swiftly took his camera and started following the bear tracks on a loop trail. While following the bear tracks, Buck suddenly stopped when he saw a blue baseball cap lying on the ground a few meters away. Beside the cap was a tripod without a camera, which was instead neatly stored in its bag next to a backpack. Fearing the worst, Buck cautiously retreated about 30 feet down the trail, and once again stopped when he spotted a fresh pool of blood on the ground. Realizing that something serious had occurred, Buck's senses were heightened. He continued to retreat down the trail, but it didn't take long before he saw more blood on the path, this time accompanied by clear grizzly claw marks. The increase in blood amount on the ground indicated a significant event had taken place, causing Buck's alertness to intensify. He soon came across a patch of dirt that appeared to have been disturbed, as if something had been dragged across it. Suspecting a brutal grizzly bear attack on a human, he cautiously continued down the trail, and was suddenly frozen in place when he noticed not just more blood, but also fragments of human flesh, scraps of clothing, and some other items scattered on the ground. With his eyes searching for more clues, he was horrified by the evidence of a savage attack. Equipped only with bear spray, an item that had once saved his life, he decided to follow it into the woods. Buck knew that the attack was recent and that there was a chance that the person was still alive and could be rescued. As he followed the trail, he soon saw more torn-up clothing, a boot, and then finally a man lying on his left side. Shocked by the sight, Buck observed that the man's body had been severely mutilated. He quickly tried to check the man's pulse, and noticed that the blood on his wounds was dark, which typically indicated death. Despite this assessment, he was still aware that the man could potentially be saved. Considering the warm temperatures of the man's body and blood, Buck knew that every passing second was crucial. He ran back to the trail to retrieve his backpack, where he intended to grab his coat to cover the man's body, and help keep it warm. But when he came back to the place where the body was located, only a big trail of blood remained at the place. Bearing in mind his knowledge of bears, Buck wisely chose not to follow the trail of blood. Instead, he walked down the trail and left his bear spray on the ground, along with a small note with warning of bear attack and instructions on how to use the bear spray in case it was needed. He then headed up to the Granite Park chalet to alert park rangers of the incident. Upon reaching the chalet, Buck encounters some hikers and warns them of the bear incident. He instructs them to take a different route back to Logan's Pass and to flag down any park rangers they come across. Buck then writes a note for the park rangers, stating that he discovered evidence of a bear attack and that he located the victim a quarter-mile away, who is maybe still alive but badly injured. He instructed them to take it to the park rangers as soon as possible. Photographer then headed back to the Granite Park Chalet to keep watch for any potential dangers. A few hours later, 2 rangers arrived via helicopter, having been alerted by hikers who found a can of bear spray near the scene. The rangers interviewed Buck about the situation, and then asked him to guide them down the trail to the body. Photographer directs the park rangers towards the location where he had discovered the man's body. After following the trail of blood for 350 feet, the rangers come upon the mutilated body, which had been in even worse shape since Buck had first seen it. The dirt spread all over the body is a common caching behavior for grizzly bears. The rangers are aware that the bear is close by and on high alert. They quickly head back to investigate the scene where Buck had found the backpack and camera. 3 of them, including wildlife photographer Buck Wild, arrived at the location of the backpack and camera where the initial bear attack took place. When they started their investigation, the mother grizzly suddenly appeared and made a bluff charge towards them in an effort to protect her cubs who were nearby. Ranger Logan was prepared to shoot if the bear took even one step closer, but her wise decision to turn back showed just how dangerous the situation was. The mother grizzly wisely retreated with her cubs, avoiding a potentially dangerous confrontation. The men quickly realized the danger and decided to head back to the Granite Park Chalet to devise a plan. The following day, a search and rescue helicopter was called to assist with the retrieval of the man's body. However, due to heavy snowfall, the copter was delayed until 11 a.m. The helicopter pilot eventually located the grizzly bear, and informed the rangers. 6 rangers, including Logan and the ranger he met at the chalet, were dispatched to retrieve the body. 5 of them approached the body on foot while the 6th kept watch with the helicopter pilot. Despite multiple close flybys by the helicopter, the grizzly was unwilling to flee from the noise. After several more attempts, the helicopter finally succeeded in scaring the bears away and the body was retrieved. The investigation showed that the man had likely surprised the mother bear who killed him to protect her cubs. The body was identified as 40-year-old John Petrani from Madison, Wisconsin. John was an avid biker and lover of jazz music who spent 3 weeks a year exploring the western wilderness. Sadly, the day he was attacked was his last planned day at Glacier before heading back home. 9 days later, the rangers found the mother bear and her cubs and decided to shoot them as they feared she would prey on other hikers. Final reports indicated that the rangers were still unsure if the mother bear and her cubs were responsible for John's death.